So a big part of successful breastfeeding is nailing down a good latch, and there's so much crazy information out there about, oh, you should hold your baby like this and angle them like this and then lock their head in like this. And so I want to share information with you that helped us to nail down a great latch within 8 days and helped to support a successful breastfeeding relationship all the way up to my son is now just coming up on 14 months and we're just getting ready to transition out of breastfeeding. That latch at the beginning can make a huge difference between whether you feel empowered or feel like you're just chugging along uphill fighting to be able to keep doing it. So what served me best, what am I profoundly grateful for knowing going into breastfeeding? I'm so glad that I knew about self-latching. So if you look at any other mammal on the face of the planet, mammals, when they arrive in the world, they know how to make their way to the breast and they know how to latch. They know how to start feeding. Without assistance, they're the ones who got there. And so guess what? Humans are no different. Human beings, when they arrive in the world, have the ability to make their own independent way to the breast and to latch. It's naturally built into them. And so there are some YouTube videos available. If you just type in self-latching or self-latch technique, you're going to find videos that parents have posted of their baby actually doing what they call the breast crawl, just pushing with these little froggy legs to get up to the right height. You'll see them kind of bopping around. The proper word is rooting, so they'll be rooting around, and you'll see them latch and start feeding. Babies know how to do it. It's awesome. But just in our culture in North America, we don't tend to give them that opportunity. We talk about how we have to flip them up, hold them up, and then turn this, and we manipulate them and lock them into place thinking that we had to teach them. You don't have to teach your child to latch. Your baby already knows how to do it. They just need opportunity to practice, okay? They just need that help and support where after, they've done their initial crawl, just if we are going to hold them, we just want to make sure that we are working with them rather than against them. So here are the absolute basics. If you want to make use of your child's inherent natural latching system, here are the basics. First of all, so I've got my little mannequin here to help out. You want to make sure that your baby's nose is lined up with their navel. You don't want their head rotated one way or the other, because turning their head to eat just changes how the tubes in their throat are lined up. It's easier to swallow when your nose is lined up with your belly button. So make sure that baby is nose to navel. Next, when you are choosing your position, how you're going to hold them, make sure that you have them facing directly towards the nipple. So thinking about, women were created so differently from each other. Nipples can point in any number of directions. Whatever direction you're pointing in, that's where those different holds come in, whether it's a cradle hold or a football hold, or you're doing this or doing that. It's just because of which way the nipple might be pointing. And so when you take a look at, well, where does your chest point? You then line up baby so that with their nose to their navel, they are then facing directly towards the nipple. The next thing you want to do is put your nipple at this little part, the underside of the nose. So nipple to nose. The reason for it, as you get baby into that position, and I'm sorry, I'm using a mannequin just because I have so much respect for women who put their boobs out on the internet for the purposes of teaching about breastfeeding. I had the opportunity to learn from a lot of those women. I am just not that brave. I can't do it. So here's my mannequin helping me out. But you put your nipple to nose, it's that little part just underneath, and what that's going to do is, one, stimulate baby. They realize, oh, okay, the breast is there, but it also causes them to lift their head and open their mouth. Did you know that your nipple is not intended to go directly into baby's mouth? They should not have equal amounts of their mouth above and below the nipple. Reason for it: one of the most active parts of nursing is their tongue. Their little tongue is coming up from underneath, and so while they are suctioning, while they are pulling milk out of the body, their tongue is pushing up from the underside of the breast, or whatever angle you have them at, is coming up, and it is pushing milk. So there is a pushing and a suctioning action that is going on with every suckle that they do. And so to set them up for the most success, to get the most effective flow of milk for them, you want to make sure that they actually have to lift their head so that there's a bit of breast in the top portion of their mouth, and there's much more breast in the underside so that their tongue is able to do that little pushing motion. So Review, it is nose to navel, keep their body lined up in a straight line. Don't hold your baby in a position where they have to rotate their head. Next, we're going to make sure that they are facing directly towards the nipple. And so again, they're not having to rotate. And it means that if you face up, yeah, you're finding one of those creative positions where you're able to hold them like this. Remember, your nipples, it's kind of like drinking from a straw. It doesn't matter, you know, those little bendy straws. It doesn't matter if it's facing up or facing down. It's the sucking motion that helps the fluid to come out. You don't have to worry about, oh, I'm pointing up, so it's going to be harder for my baby. Absolutely not. Don't worry about it. Also, oh, I'm big-breasted or small-breasted, you know, especially if you're very flat and you're going, oh, I can't do it. No, it has nothing to do with the fat content in your breast. The milk system is there, so don't ever worry about how large or how small your breasts are. Just work with what you got. The system is amazing. Okay, you're going to be able to feed your baby. It's all good. So you get them lined up, and you make sure that the nipple touches the underside of their nose, which causes them to lift their chin. And to go along with getting the nipple positioned perfectly in their mouth that way, it also opens up the tubing. So if you ever want to try it, tuck your chin down and try to swallow, and lift your chin up and try to swallow. It's always easier to swallow when you have your chin raised. It also opens your airway, so it makes it easier for baby to breathe. If you've ever taken a first aid course, you've talked about head tilt chin lifts, it's that exact same idea. It's easier to breathe, it's easier for them to eat. And so when you're trying to line them up, wherever your nipple is pointing, make sure that it's pointing directly to that spot. Because if I was holding baby here and, you know, my baby was able to therefore lift his head, open up and latch, that's great, you know, he's able to breathe and able to eat easily. But if I shuffle him over here, well, that would cause his chin to tuck down because he's still trying to stay latched. So if you are ever trying to make adjustments with your baby, it's a little bit counterintuitive. Sometimes we just look at them and go, oh, you know, it looks like their nose is really close to the breast. If you're ever going, they can't breathe. They've got a nipple in their mouth and the breast is blocking their nose. It can be intuitive to think, oh, I need to push their head this way to try and get their nose clear so they can breathe better, but that's not actually what you want to do, because by pushing them upwards, even if it clears the nose, because they're attached to the nipple, their head rotates around that point and it pulls their chin down. So rather than focusing on their nose, focus on the chin. You want to have the chin raised, and the cool thing is that if you move baby towards their feet, not only does the chin raise, but that pulls the nose away from the breast. So now you have solved two problems with one simple shift, instead of trying to solve one problem and then creating a second problem. So anytime that you're concerned about the latch, your best bet is probably to shuffle them an inch or two towards their feet rather than trying to push them this way. With that in mind, the first couple of days that you guys are hanging out together, you need time to figure each other out. And so have patience, you know, be good to your sweet self. You're new at this. Even if this is your second, third, or 12th baby, every baby is different. So in those first few days, do not beat yourself up at all. I want you to love yourself, love your baby, love the journey, as exciting and wild and challenging and scary as it is, and just know that your baby does know what they're doing and they just need a chance to practice. And to give them more opportunity to practice, recommendations I can give would include wake your baby up approximately every 2 or 3 hours to practice feeding. If you have a sleepy baby and they would happily sleep for 5, 6, 8 hours, wake them up every 2 or 3 hours so they have that opportunity to try and eat, to practice. And the next video I'm going to make is going to be about those first couple of days. And if you have any concerns that they're not getting enough of the colostrum that your body's kicking out in those first few days, I'm going to talk about how to feel utterly confident knowing that they've got something in their body and hold the fort until they've practiced their latch enough that they can nail it every single time. So I hope that's helpful. All the best.